Hi, my name is Jordan and I'm the president at Coalition. Coalition is one of the leading digital agencies in the United States, and we've been really focused in on the e-commerce market predominantly for the last decade. We are well known for our design and development, our SEO, our pay-per-click, our paid social media marketing, and our email marketing. And we have some really amazing case studies over the year in each of those categories. One of our partners and one of the platforms that we develop on most frequently is the Shopify platform. We're a bit unique from a Shopify partner perspective in that we generate most of our business independent of the Shopify platform, so we don't depend on the Shopify marketplace or experts listings to really drive a lot of business. And that does give us an opportunity to be more of an independent voice to help inform Shopify merchants about how to best use the platform, and also give them recommendations about areas maybe where the platform is coming up short. And certainly it also gives us a chance to be a voice with the Shopify team about areas that they can improve. One of the things that we're talking a lot about today with our current merchants and also with prospective Shopify merchants and people who are industry observers is really about where Shopify is going to go in the latter half of 2020 into 2021. Recently, their share prices have been going insane, so that's creating just a lot of extra interest. And merchants are really sort of curious as to where Shopify will be investing. And so we want to talk a little bit about some of the projections we've gotten right over time about what Shopify was going to do and really where we think they're going to take the platform next. In the last 2 years, we've been accurate in terms of calling Shopify getting into the payments area. We've talked about Shopify going into email. We've talked about Shopify going into more of a marketing channel integrator. We've talked about Shopify going into fulfillment. We've talked about Shopify doing installment payments. So we've gotten a lot of things and a lot of projections right over time, even if the exact model and timing didn't end up being perfect. So we feel like we have some expertise to be able to recommend and say like, hey, you know, this is where we think they're going, and we can be pretty confident that we're going to be right. So talking about a couple of different things that I think Shopify will invest in the next year or so. First, with the Shopify Fulfillment Network, I was really sort of caught off guard by the way that they approached fulfillment. They went all in with an acquisition and have launched a number of warehouses along with some software and hardware to support those warehouses over the last year and a half and begun to make those available to Shopify merchants. What really surprised me was the size of the commitment there. I think that move was really more about sort of the timing of the acquisition and also really wanting to make sure that shareholders understood Shopify views itself less as an e-commerce shopping cart and more as a competitor to Amazon and Walmart and other e-commerce companies that maybe do more than just simply offering product for sale. And so I think that was really one of the big intentions with the sort of the move to do the fulfillment network was more about share and investor confidence than anything else. But I do see sort of a downstream opportunity that Shopify has still not pulled the trigger on. I had originally projected that Shopify would do something in terms of equipping merchants with hardware and software to operate small-scale fulfillment operations from their retail boutiques, from the warehouse spaces that they've leased, and frankly, even from their home on occasion or their garage. And Shopify hasn't done that yet. And so given the experience that they have with the fulfillment network now, it really wouldn't surprise me in the next 12 months to see Shopify provide kits of hardware and software solutions to merchants that they can add to their warehousing and fulfillment centers. That better integrate into Shopify as an e-commerce platform, but also maybe take advantage of some of the more advanced tool set and learnings that Shopify has had from the fulfillment network. So don't be surprised if you see something like that. It could be priced in a similar fashion to what you see their point of sale solutions. They've already got some hardware and software licensing there. And so I think they could kind of follow a similar marketing and pricing model. And again, this really fits into Shopify's philosophy and emphasis lately of looking for ways that they can increase the amount of money that a merchant is paying Shopify without increasing the total expense to the merchant. So they're basically stepping in and cutting off additional third-party costs from getting billed to the merchant and then having the merchant pay Shopify instead. Merchants, frankly, don't care much about who they're working with. And so this sort of creates a really good opportunity for them just, again, to have a higher take rate from each individual merchant without making it feel like they're sort of nickel and diming them on the core e-commerce cart. So that's one. Two, and I think this is maybe sort of the tail end of the 12-month structure, but I do think we'll see more moves from Shopify on this over the next 5 years total. I think this is sort of a big roadmap item. I think it's something that'll take longer to do, but I do think Shopify recognizes that the ERP software solution space is weak. It's aged poorly over time, it's too fractured, and frankly, it's overpriced. There's a lot of different ERP solutions out there that have really insane annual licensing costs and things like that. And Shopify has got to recognize that a lot of their merchants are still paying for these ERP solutions to integrate into their shopping cart, even though they're primarily an e-commerce brand. So I really do expect Shopify to do something on the software front where it becomes an ERP, a cloud-based ERP solution that then creates more of an appeal to true enterprise brands. Again, it gives Shopify this opportunity to really increase their take rate on a per merchant basis, especially for large merchants, without actually having the merchant pay more in total. They're just basically saying like, hey, you don't have to pay SAP, you don't have to pay NetSuite, you don't have to pay a Microsoft product or a value-added reseller for a license on one of those products. You just pay Shopify. And I think that'll be something that's really appealing for Shopify. It helps them create a really compelling story for shareholders. A lot of those companies that they could cut in on are multi-billion-dollar companies with a lot going through those ERP solutions. And so I think it really makes a lot of sense. They're already incrementing a lot of the feature and functionality that way through the core shopping cart, with the fulfillment network, with the point of sale solution. And so I don't think it's a big leap of logic to expect more launches on that front. I think we'll probably need to see something more to address manufacturers. We'll probably need to see something more on the accounting side of things. But I think those are areas that they're too rich, and merchants are paying too much money to other providers through third-party integrations and things like that to tie into Shopify. It just really makes sense as a low-hanging fruit for Shopify to continue to sort of pick at that tree for several years and, again, really increase the perceived value that they can offer to shareholders as a result. So that's my second call. I think my third and my final one is I think we're going to continue to see Shopify push into consumer-facing marketing and advertising solutions, whether as a network, so offering advertising space for sale, or actually creating content that then can be used for advertising opportunities. Shopify Studios, which a lot of people didn't know existed, recently launched or announced the launch of a program called I Quit, which follows the entrepreneurial journey of a bunch of different people who are quitting their day job, going out to get rich quick, doing the e-commerce thing. That's been a big part of Shopify's marketing story over the last 5 years, and part of why they're so successful with micro merchants is sort of this dream story of, I don't have to work for somebody else. I can start my own hustle, my own side gig, and I can make millions doing it. You see it on Shark Tank, you see it on Good Morning America, you see it trending online, it's the subject of a lot of Facebook advertising. And so I think Shopify is going to continue to look for opportunities to create advertisements that directly appeal to consumers who maybe don't currently consider themselves an e-commerce merchant. So I think that'll be something that's happening. I think there's also an opportunity for them with the Shop app to begin selling certain ad placements. Recently, Google announced some partnerships with Shopify, which I was really surprised by because I think some of what Shopify is doing is more directly competitive to Shopify or to Google's search engine than it is to Amazon. The Shop app and the way it functions in a lot of ways continues to cut in on Google's market share in the e-commerce and retail space because it emphasizes local retailers near me. And so I was surprised that Google would even bother getting in bed with Shopify. Maybe they felt like they were a bit more cornered with their competition with Amazon and they were taking a risk on what Shopify may do down the line versus what Amazon is doing today. But ultimately, I think the Shop app eventually could be a place where they're going to sell ad placements, pay-per-click ads, to merchants who are then looking to get choice placement for their brand or product within the app and perhaps within a website portal at some point as well. It makes a lot of sense. Shopify already has a lot of information on advertising behaviors of their merchants. I think they can price that in pretty easily. We know Amazon and Google and others make a lot of money through advertising, and Shopify is really interested in selling the story that it has this limitless total addressable market out there, and getting into the advertising side of things is going to do that. Pairing that with some consumer-facing content like the I Quit program helps them drive interest to the Shop app, which then in turn creates the demand where an advertising opportunity makes sense for merchants. And so I think that'll be sort of the narrative we see. Those are my three things. Again, fulfillment hardware and software solutions available to merchants. Moving towards an ERP type space. Again, this can happen incrementally. They could do something like accounting software solutions, again, kind of go up against Intuit or QuickBooks. It's easy place to target. And then I think thirdly, looking at that sort of advertising space is sort of the near-term things that they can do to continue to grow Shopify's share value, and in some ways simplify the experience for merchants too. So that's it. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out. We'll have a link to our blog post on this topic down below, and then you can get in touch with our team through our contact form or our phone number listed there. Look forward to hearing from you and talking with you in the future about e-commerce and other things that we love in the digital space. Bye.